like that, and because you outboxed the fucking best boxer in the world for rounds. You beat him at his own game. Your game plan was perfect. It's perfect. He nicked it just at the end. But he nicked it at the end. He was stopping around. That's all it was. But that fight up until 10 was dead fucking level. You was outboxing the best boxer in the world. Your stock rose, mate.
You were
rose. Like you come out of that with victory, mate. Like honestly, you know, if there was any doubters out there now, bro, there's fucking none now at all.
I think you were talking about the pandemic there. Have you changed, you think, as a boxer or as a person during it?
100%. Like when I first started boxing, my whole world just flipped on its head. Like I had to really step my game up and adapt to this new environment. And then, so imagine I'm upside down now. And the whole world's moving at 100 miles an hour, so it's a bit of a whirlwind. And then with the pandemic, the whole world flipped on its head, which gave me a chance to now look up again. So I flipped on my head when I first started boxing. Then during the pandemic, where the world's flipped on its head, it's allowed me to resurface again. And I feel like in life, you always need to reset sometimes and go back to what the true meaning of what you're doing is, why you're doing it, reset with who you are, what your values are. And the pandemic's helped me do all that.
Right, if I was on the phone to the local Chinese, it'd be egg fried rice, special fried rice, large, plain chow mein, shredded chicken chow mein, large, salt and chili king prawn, salt and chili chicken, kung po prawn, sweet and sour chicken balls, sweet and sour pork balls, shredded chili beef, beef in black bean sauce, mini pancake rolls, large pancake roll, curry sauce, 2 portions of prawn crackers. Bosh. On Saturday night, I'll be listening to Usyk versus Joshua, exclusively live on TalkSport, while I'm enjoying my Saturday night Chinese. Special fried rice, bosh. Special chow mein, bosh. Sweet and sour chicken balls, bosh. Sweet and sour chicken Hong Kong style, bosh. Salt and chili king prawn, bosh. Salt and chili chicken, bosh. Barbecue spare ribs, bosh. Roast pork Chinese style, bosh. Crispy aromatic duck, bosh. Chips, bosh. Prawn crackers, bosh. Curry sauce, bosh.
Oh, shit. Can we do a mic test? Can you hear me loudly and clearly? ABB says I was going to be muted, but he got it wrong. Can you hear me loudly and clearly? Are we ready to go on this absolute fucking disgrace? That is British boxing. You know what? Before we get going, actually, you know what? Should we play the British boxing theme tune then? Seeing as this is an absolute fucking clown show from top to bottom. Let's play the British boxing theme tune. One sec. Can you hear me loudly and clearly over the British boxing theme tune? If you can, please press 7. If you can hear me loudly and clearly over the British boxing theme tune. Have we got a show for you today? Conor Ben is still under investigation by UKAD. An 8. Okay. There we go. That's a bit better. Conor Ben is still under investigation from the British Boxing Board of Control and UK Anti-Doping. Alright? Conor Ben is still under investigation for 2 adverse findings in the space of 4 months for clomiphene. As of yet, there's been no conclusion. The British Boxing Board of Control and UKAD are still waiting for some form of explanation as to how clomiphene got in this man's system twice in 2 fucking completely different tests. Breaking news from the Sun newspaper, and it's Wally Downs Jr., who has been talking about Conor Ben fighting in Abu Dhabi for some time. So Wally Downs Jr., he's had a few misses, but he's had a few hits as well, alright? He's not just anybody. Wally Downs Jr. was one of the first journalists to report that Conor Ben was going to be on an Abu Dhabi card a couple of months ago. And this has been backed by Conor Ben. We'll see Conor Ben's response to this story on social media in a second. And Conor Ben's response to this story basically tells you all you need to know. That this story is a true story. Because there's been no denial from Conor Ben. He's quoted the story. And his response is, how long will it take me to knock out Chris Eubank Jr.? So Conor Ben versus Chris Eubank Jr. is close to being a done deal for June the 3rd in Abu Dhabi. This fight is going to involve the following. This fight is going to involve a Chris Eubank Jr. who just got knocked the fuck out for the first time in his career, coincidentally knocked out after boiling down to 157 pounds and looking like he was on the verge of near death. Yeah, about a week out from the fight with Conor Ben. So Chris Eubank Jr., fresh off having his brains pummeled in by Liam Smith, fresh off draining himself to absolute fuck. He's fresh off dehydrating all of the cushioning around his brain that protects his brain when he gets punched in the head with 10-ounce gloves by a professional fighter. Fresh off that, Chris Eubank will be jumping straight in the ring with somebody who is still under investigation by the British Boxing Board of Control and UK Anti-Doping for having clomiphene in his system in multiple tests taken over a multiple month period. Do you know what? For me, I know we come on here and we say British boxing's a fucking joke and stuff, right? But even by British boxing standards, right? Let's be honest. This is an absolute and total fucking disgrace, you know? This is an absolute and total fucking disgrace. Everybody who's involved in getting this fight on and in the making of this fight needs to take here a serious look at themselves. And before we get going, all right, I have to say once again, special delivery to Mr. Eddie Hearn, because just the bullshit, the deception, and the hypocrisy, right? Just keep coming from this man. Press 1 if you can hear this. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll do it another way. I'll do it through my Twitter page just to make sure. I'm going to share with you Eddie Hearn, okay? Just give me a sec. I'm going to share with you a little video clip that I've got on my Twitter page right now of Eddie Hearn, right? Let's see. Do you think that this is a contradiction from Eddie Hearn, or do you think he's being absolutely and completely honest? Press 1 if you can hear this.
On the night. Secondly, I could have done this fight in many different places around the world. You can't do it. You know, you've seen the feedback, you've seen the response. He has to clear his name, or he has to have his case heard. So what we are not going to do, and what we won't accept anyway, is just to go and get another license and put this fight on in December. No. Let's have the process, go through the legal process of Conor Ben, and then we see what the result is.
Eh? Has the legal process finished then? Let's listen to what Eddie Hearn said. He said, we're not going to put the fight on elsewhere until he's cleared his name. He has absolutely not cleared his name. And I think anybody would try to think that I think even the most ardent Conor Ben fan would tell you he has not cleared his name. But we'll go through that in a second, right? But even if you think he's cleared his name, has the legal process finished? Does anybody in here think all the legal processes around Conor Ben's dope tests have finished? Let's just have one more listen to this. Let's have one more listen to this absolute fucking hypocrite in action. And there's nothing wrong with being a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite. We're all hypocrites. When people's lives are on the line, and let me tell you why this is such a fucking disgrace. Forget all this fucking Fury and Usyk crap. Oh, you know, because I think Fury and Usyk will fight eventually, all right? Forget all this Fury and Usyk. Fury and Usyk aren't putting lives on the line. Fury and Usyk, yeah, aren't responsible for, you know what I mean, fucking the safety of fighters that are fighting. This is lives on the line. Chris Eubank Jr. has just been knocked out for the first time in his fucking career. He looked absolutely awful towards the end of that fight with Liam Smith. He looked absolutely awful in the run up to the Eubank fight. He looked like he was on the edge of death. It looked like Chris Eubank Jr. I'll get the picture up. Chris Eubank Jr. I'll get that picture up of him weighing in. Let me see if I can get that picture of Chris Eubank Jr. on the day of the Conor Ben fight. The man looked like he'd been held in a concentration camp. Am I lying or am I not lying? He looked absolutely fucking emaciated. He's now allegedly potentially going to be involved in a fight with somebody that's still under investigation for suspected doping. And we're not talking suspected doping for something like oxylifrine, which is a fucking nasal spray, which is not even banned out of competition by UCAD. Oxylifrine is fucking small potatoes when it comes down to clomiphene compared to clomiphene, which you know who was caught in the ring with. But in the meantime, let's just listen to that one more time from Eddie Hearn. You tell me if you think this is a contradiction. I think it's absolutely disgusting, to be honest.
On the night. Secondly, I could have done this fight in many different places around the world. You can't do it. You've seen the feedback, you've seen the response. He has to clear his name, or he has to have his case heard. So what we are not going to do, and what we won't accept.
Let me just go back. He has to clear his name. Let's just go through this point by point. Does anybody in here think Conor Ben's cleared his name? Does anybody? Just out of interest, does anybody here think Conor Ben has cleared his name? Anybody think Conor Ben's cleared his name? Okay, right. Let's have a look at the next point, right? So he thinks Conor Ben's cleared his name. All right, let's have the next one.
What we are not going to do, and what we won't accept anyway, is just to go and get another license and put this fight on in December. No. Let's have the process, go through the legal process.
Have they gone through the process? Richard and George C, you were there. Has Conor Ben gone through the process? Has he gone through the quote unquote process that you should go through when you have 2 adverse findings in a space of 4 months? Has he gone through the process? As far as I'm aware, yeah, when a British fighter has an adverse finding or allegedly fails multiple drugs tests, yeah, is the process that the WBC come up with an excuse for you of chicken eggs and then let you back in the rankings? Is that the process? Last time I checked, yeah, the process was the following, right? The British Boxing Board of Control are the governing body of boxing in this country. Is that true or false? Is it true or false that the UK Anti-Doping Agency, yeah, are the agency for the United Kingdom who determine if doping violations have been committed in the UK or not? Is that the case or not the case? So what process has Conor Ben gone through? Just out of it, has he gone through the process? I thought the process involves the governing body of British boxing, which is the British Boxing Board of Control, completing their investigation with the assistance of the UK Anti-Doping Agency. That's what the process is. So to me, right, those processes are still ongoing, and those processes are going to have legal consequences, or those processes are going to have legal ramifications for Conor Ben. So to me, this is bollocks. He has not gone through. He has not gone through the proper process. He hasn't even gone through the proper legal process, in my opinion. What is this bullshit?
And put this fight on in December. No.
Zeppi, I don't know what channel you've come from, but you don't know what you're talking about. All right? The British Boxing Board of Control and UCAD do not have to prove anybody cheated. Go to Google and look up the strict liability rule before you start spamming my comment section with nonsense. Go and look up the strict liability rule and then come back, because you don't know what you're talking about. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm not in the mood today. It's 7 o'clock. I've just had my dinner and I've got more work to do. Sorry, let's just finish off here. Sorry.
And put this fight on in December. No. Let's have the process, go through the legal process of Conor Ben, and then we see what the result is on the night.
There you go. So there you go. Right? As far as I'm concerned, yeah, that legal process, right, should still be ongoing. I don't know how you think. The process that Conor Ben should be going through is currently ongoing. Do you know what I mean? And you know what? It's so funny we get people coming in here, tell them to prove it. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, at the end of the minute, he's not even cooperating with the fucking with the British Boxing Board of Control. How many months have the British Boxing Board of Control asked this dude for this 270-page document that he gave to the WBC? How long have they asked him for that? How many months have they been asking him for this document? Next question. Did Conor Ben's representatives tell the British Boxing Board of Control, you can't investigate this because he didn't fail a UCAD test? That's what the British Boxing Board of Control is saying. Are they lying? Did Robert Smith go on TalkSport and lie when he said lawyers or got in contact with him and told him this is not a matter for the British Boxing Board of Control because it's not a UCAD test? Okay. So far, right? Has there been any cooperation? No. There you go. There's your answer. No cooperation. Is the process Is the process still ongoing? Yes, it is, as far as I'm concerned. So, like I said before, it's just another case, yeah, of just, you know, an absolute hypocrite, yeah, at work here. And this is what makes me fucking laugh, yeah. This is what makes me absolutely fucking laugh when I hear people talk bullshit about that Simon Jordan interview. It just makes a mockery of it, to be honest. People saying shit like, what, fucking Simon Jordan, Eddie Hearn destroyed Simon. I was just sitting there thinking, honestly, I don't know what people are listening to. I understand it's quite a technical discussion, right? And most people don't know what they're talking about, but I don't understand. Like, I watched Eddie Hearn's interview with Simon Jordan. Was it perfect from Simon Jordan? No. But I think, you know, there were very, very, very valid questions asked by Simon Jordan. One of them was the following as well, which I would pick up on. How do we know, right? How do we know that Conor Ben no longer has, or Conor Ben is no longer ingesting anything that contains illegal substances? Do you see what I'm saying here? Lawyers, listen, I'm not accusing Conor Ben of knowingly taking anything. What I'm saying is the following. How do we know that Conor Ben no longer has illegal substances in his system? I could have sworn, yeah, in the past, when people like Jarrell Miller and others have failed drugs tests. Do you guys remember? Press 1 if you remember this, and press 2 if you don't remember this. Can you remember when Jarrell Miller failed dope tests, right? And can you remember we had discussions about the lasting effects of performance enhancing drugs? Press 1 if you can remember that. Press 2 if you can't remember that. Can you remember when Jarrell Miller failed? And the British press were talking about the long-lasting residual effects of taking drugs. Do you remember what they were saying? That when you take performance enhancing drugs, right? You don't, as soon as they clear out of your system, you don't just lose the benefits, right? Once it's no longer detectable, it doesn't mean that you've lost the benefits of the performance enhancing drugs. The benefit of the performance enhancing drugs go on and on and on. And I remember when Jarrell Miller failed, and people were talking about the potential, people were talking about banning him for years and years and years. And one of the reasons why people were talking about banning Jarrell Miller for many, many years is because they said, well, even if he was to test clear, right, the residual effects of him taking drugs would last on and on and on and on. Because that's how it's supposed to work, isn't it? Right? The drug clears your system, but the benefits don't clear your system. So does the same thing now apply to Conor Ben? Or does it not apply to Conor Ben because he's from Britain? How do we know that this guy isn't still getting performance benefits that come from, yeah, the substances that were found in his system? How do we know? How do we know he's innocent? Is that a fair question? How do we know he's innocent? Have the British Boxing Board of Control, who are the governing body of this country, have they come out and said that this man's innocent? Yes or no? Have UK anti-doping come out and said that VADA tests were contaminated? Has anybody said that for the British Boxing Board of Control or UK? No. So why the fuck is he being allowed into a fucking ring then to punch someone in the fucking head? Why is he being allowed in the ring to punch somebody in the head when the UK anti-doping agency, yeah, have not cleared him, have not turned around and given any sort of mitigating circumstances? We don't know what's going on with Conor Ben. We don't know what's going on. All we know is at the minute, right, it's alleged that he's going to be allowed into the ring to punch somebody in the fucking head again. According to this article, which I will get back up on the screen, apologies. According to this article, it's alleged, yeah, that a certain boxing promoter, who shall remain nameless, right, is going to allow this individual to step into a boxing ring in June the 3rd and punch somebody in the head who's already coming off a knockout loss. Meanwhile, he is still under investigation by the UK anti-doping agency. This is one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard. Are you fucking kidding me? And people are banging on about Fury and Usyk. Lives have been put on the fucking line here. Literally. Lives have been put on the line. Fury and Usyk. Oh my God. Do you know what I had to hear all last week? Fury and Usyk not happening is killing boxing. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? What, because you didn't get Fury and Usyk on the 29th of April? That's killing boxing. But we're allowing people who are under investigation for doping into boxing rings while they're under investigation and allowing them to punch somebody in the head until they can't fight back or till their corner throws in the fucking towel. We're allowing that, yeah? And you don't think that's killing boxing. But you want to get all about, oh my God, Fury. Oh my God. Fury and Usyk, this is terrible for the sport of boxing. Fury and Usyk was killing this is killing boxing. This is killing boxing. Meanwhile, we got people under investigation for fucking doping, jumping back into a fucking ring to hurt people. So that'll be my question to Eddie Hearn. How do we know, right? And this is part of the reason why I believe that, you know, WADA, not VADA, WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency, probably employed the strict liability rule. Part of the reason they might do it is, look, the bottom line of it is we don't give a fuck how it got into your system. You're responsible for what's in your body. And the effects of certain performance enhancing drugs can be long lasting. It could be, think of all the training that you're able to do when you're on these types of performance enhancing drugs. Do the benefits of that training go away when a drug clears your system? Yes or no? Yes or no? If I take a performance enhancing drug and I'm able to train harder than I've ever trained before, and I'm able to gain all kinds of muscle mass, and I'm able to punch harder, and I'm able to punch faster, and I'm able to train harder than I've ever trained before, when that drug is no longer detectable in a urine sample, do I lose all the benefits of the training I just had? Do I? Does all of a sudden, do I go back to square one, yeah? Do I go back to square one? Do I go back to the fighter that was struggling with part-time kickboxers on Sky Next Gen? No, I don't. So at the very least, yeah, at the very least, there's a possibility that the residual benefits of what was in this man's system could still be giving him some kind of advantage. And that's my opinion. And I think that's a fair opinion. So the bottom line of it is this. He should not be allowed in a boxing ring anywhere in the world until the investigations are complete. And we all know the investigations are going to clear him anyway, don't we? We all know that the investigations are going to clear him. And we all know that the British Boxing Board of Control are going to fold over and bend over. We all know that. But the bottom line is the investigation is not complete. Now, I don't even remember the predictions I made about what would happen with this case. Let's go back 6 months, shall we? By the way, can you do me a favour if you can? Can you please hit the like button? If you're here, we've got about 113 so far in 23 minutes. If you'd like to hit the like button, please feel free to hit the like button. I really would appreciate the support. Right now, we're covering things that no one else will cover. Let me tell you something right now. I thought I'm supposed to be biased. What about all these people who are collecting money? You know who? How are they gonna... If this fight gets made on DAZN, Conor Ben versus Chris Eubank Jr. Well, if this fight was to get... Let me ask you a genuine question now. Let's just cut the bullshit, right? Since people want to talk about who's biased and who's not biased. Genuine question. If Conor Ben versus Chris Eubank Jr. is allowed to happen on June the 3rd in Dubai, on DAZN, while Conor Ben is still under investigation for doping violations, how can any employee of DAZN with a straight face sit on that broadcast and have any dignity left? Tony Bellew. Press 1 if you agree with me, press 2 if I disagree. Since we're going to start talking about who's biased and who's not biased, after all the comments that were made about Jarrell Miller failing a drugs test, and all the outrage about Jarrell Miller failing a drugs test, you're going to sit on a DAZN broadcast. And legitimately, you're going to sit on DAZN TV. You're going to sit on a DAZN broadcast. All the things you said about Jarrell Miller, all the things you said about drug cheats and boxing, you're going to sit and take money from DAZN on a DAZN broadcast for a fight involving somebody who's recently just been knocked out and another guy who's currently under investigation for doping violations. But I'm biased. But I'm not taking any money, right? But I'm biased, right? I'm biased, but I'm not taking any money from anybody. I've never taken a penny from anybody in my life. These people are taking your money. Where's George C at? George C, who's our resident scientist. Training benefits are cumulative when on PEDs. It's like compound interest. Improved recovery is also massive. So why are people... This is what I don't understand. Just before we get on to my prediction from 6 months ago. Why do people keep hitting me up with the I'm biased? Don't listen to Ultratech. Ultra's biased. Here's the only question you ever need to ask. Give when people say that. Don't listen to Ultratech. He's biased. Here's my answer to that. Yes, I am biased. Here's my question. Do I take any money from people under the guise that I'm unbiased? No. But do you? Yes, you do. This is the truth, isn't it? Do I take money from people because I'm not man enough to go out and do a 9 to 5? So I have to try and make a little career out of fucking social media and all this shit. Because I'm not man enough to go out and do a 9 to 5, innit? Like everybody else. Do I try and take money from people under the guise that I'm unbiased? No, I don't. I don't take a penny off anybody. Now, can you say the same about these individuals? Can you say the same about these other individuals who are going to twerk for this fight? Who are going to shake their batty over this fight? Shaking their batty over a Conor Ben versus Nigel Better, over a Conor Ben versus Chris Eubank fight. It's an absolute fucking disgrace. Let's have a look at my prediction from 6 months ago. How close was I to being right on this prediction? This is how fucking easy it is. This is from the 7th of October 2022. 7th of October 2022. Let's see how close my prediction was from 6 months ago. My opinion on how Conor Ben situation will end up. Point 1. UCAD won't ignore VADA findings, but will accept an explanation about how the substance got in his system. I'm not proven right on that yet. Point 2. Conor Ben cleared of wrongdoing. Technically, I'm not right on that. I mean, technically, he's been cleared by the WBC. So technically, I am right. But the WBC don't matter. It's UCAD and the British Boxing Board of Control. Point 3. Eubank fight rescheduled. Point 4. Removal/alteration of rehydration clause. This fight will be taking place at 160 pounds. 5. Fight is a big pay-per-view success. How close was I 6 months ago telling you what was going to happen with this Conor Ben thing? 6 months ago. Some people would have you believe that I've already nailed 4 out of 5 of these. And I said this back on the 7th of October 2022 at 3 minutes past 9 first thing in the morning. I'm not even awake at 3 minutes past 9. I don't even get out of bed at 3 minutes past 9 in the morning. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? And to all those other people out there, stop biting my jokes and stop biting my punchlines as well. Can I say that as well, please? Stop biting my jokes. Stop biting my punchlines, man. It's painful. Do you know how many people come to me on Twitter? Ultra, so-and-so nicked your joke. Ultra, so-and-so's. Stop nicking my shit, man. That shit be worse than people failing drugs tests. It's people nicking my fucking jokes. Oh my gosh. I'm waiting for the Okoli vegan jokes to start getting nicked as well next week. The Okoli vegan jokes. Stop nicking my shit, man. Cringeworthy. Make your own stuff up, innit? Make your own shit up, man. Anyway. Pick up Jason Walker. Jason, we need to get you back on, actually, after post-fight for Anthony Joshua, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Right, let's carry on. LD Phoenix, this is an interesting question. Ultra, do you think Hearn knows that Ben was doping, or he genuinely thinks he's innocent? If you want to ask any questions, feel free to ask. How do I know? I can't tell you if Eddie Hearn knew that Conor Ben was on dope. I can't say that for legal reasons, right? What I can say is this. And again, I said this about Simon Jordan's interview. With Eddie Hearn, which I think was a very, very underrated. Eddie Hearn, listen, let me make this clear. If Eddie Hearn came on this line right now, he would destroy me. He is incredibly slippery. You'd be an idiot to underestimate how intelligent, how smart Eddie Hearn is. Eddie Hearn is the master of doublespeak. Eddie Hearn's the master of contradiction. Eddie Hearn is the master of hypocrisy. Eddie Hearn is the master of deflection. Eddie Hearn is the master of changing the topic. Eddie Hearn is the master of all those things. So I wouldn't stand a fucking chance against Eddie Hearn. And I think that Simon Jordan did a very, very good job. When Eddie Hearn, in that interview with Simon Jordan, turned around and said he thinks Conor Ben is innocent, I honestly don't know how anybody with a straight face could watch Eddie Hearn tell you that he thinks Conor Ben is innocent and think that he somehow won that interview with Simon Jordan. Just use your fucking brain. How on earth could you let this man, this 45-year-old man, right, with fake hair in his head, sit in the studio and tell you that given all the evidence that is available, that he somehow believes that Conor Ben is innocent and not laugh this man out of the building? What are the odds? Can somebody explain to me, please? George C's a scientist. It's a very, very simple question. What are the odds of 2 separate tests being contaminated? Am I right about that or am I wrong about that? Hold on a minute. What's the story here? We've got 2 tests. That equals 4 samples, right? 4 samples. An A sample and a B sample for each test. How many of these tests were contaminated by VADA? 2 separate tests, 4 samples over a 3-4 month period. How many of these fucking samples would have been contaminated by VADA? Tell me the answer. Let's just look at the evidence. Let's look at the evidence, right? Let's play a game. Let's play a game called What's the Most Likely? What is the likelihood of that happening? Let's have a look. Let's Google biggest odds. I think you've got more odds of being struck by fucking lightning than that happening. Hold on. Biggest odds in the world. I'll fucking Google it right now. Biggest odds in the world. You can see I've got the mechanical keyboard out today. Here you go. Let's Google it. What are the chances of being struck by lightning? The odds that one will be struck by lightning in America during his one lifetime is around 1 to 15,000. 1 to 15,000. Jesus. What are the odds of VADA contaminating 2 fucking separate tests in the space of fucking 3 to 4 months? Point 2, right? So straight away, that story, right? Straight away, that story sounds very, very dubious, right? So listen to what I'm saying. The first excuse, which is in a 270-page document, seems very, very iffy, right? That is not a story that's going to make me think, yeah, he's definitely innocent, is it? Right, point 2. If VADA did contaminate your tests, why can't you provide the relevant evidence that could clear your name to the British Boxing Board of Control and or UCAD? Why can't you do that? Even if the strict liability rule still exists, you could help future athletes, could you not? Because if his tests really are getting contaminated, then it's not just his tests, is it? It's other fighters are being accused of failing dope tests, aren't they? Think about it logically. Are you telling me Conor Ben, if VADA are really contaminating tests, is Conor Ben the only fighter in the history of VADA who's had his test contaminated? Or have other fighters now been given false positives because of VADA? Well, tell you what, Conor Ben's information in this 270-page document could help to save the careers of other athletes. So even if he personally doesn't get off because of the strict liability rule, why can't he provide the documentation so everybody can see it? Why can't he open source the documentation so that other medical people or that other experts can get involved? And maybe talk about fine lining the process. Because if there's a problem in the UCAD process, don't you think we should know what that is? Excuse me, let me rephrase that. If there's a problem in the VADA drug test handling process, shouldn't we know what that is? Do you not think? Shouldn't we know what that is? Don't other athletes who have their samples tested deserve to know? So why can't you share the evidence? I will check them, Richard. I can see them. I will check them in just a sec. So, first and foremost, before I go to Richard and George's comments, let me tell you something. You have to ask yourself the question. Eddie Hearn says he believes Conor Ben is innocent. Based on what evidence? Because we haven't seen any evidence whatsoever. So just believe that this guy is innocent. There's no evidence. Where is the evidence? What evidence has Eddie Hearn seen that he can go on TalkSport with Simon Jordan and say, I believe Conor Ben is innocent? What do you believe? Based on what? Based on what evidence? You've got a fighter who is at the minute refusing, allegedly, let me change that. You've got a fighter that at the minute is allegedly refusing to hand over the evidence that helps provide an explanation for why he had adverse findings. You've got a fighter that's refusing to provide that evidence. You've got a fighter who went on Piers Morgan and was asked by Piers Morgan, I don't understand why you're here. That's what Piers Morgan said to him. Piers Morgan looked Conor Ben in the face and said, I don't really know why you're here. Why don't you just provide the British Boxing Board of Control with the evidence? And Conor Ben turned around on live television and said, I could just fight somewhere else. As a promoter, yeah, 2 failed tests in 4 months, and what looks to me to be a non-willingness to cooperate with the UK Anti-Doping Agency. How can you turn around and say, I believe this dude's innocent? What? But idiots say, oh my God, he destroyed Simon Jordan. What? You're listening to that and you think he destroyed Simon Jordan. I listen to that and I think this guy is absolutely off his rocker. Just listen to the concept of that. He believes Conor Ben is innocent. He should provide the evidence to us as to why he believes in him. We should know. Because based on the evidence that's been given to the public, and listen, nobody believes, the only people that believe Conor Ben, right? And I love this guy to bits, but I have to say it, Everything Boxing on Twitter, I love you, brother. I love you to bits. But like, you're literally the only person that believes Conor Ben. Like, I swear to God, Everything Boxing, you're the only person that actually believes this dude. And if you're right, that's cool. Everything Boxing, you know I love you, yeah? It's never been no beef, nothing. You know I love you to bits, yeah? But you're literally the only person in the UK that actually thinks, yeah, that this guy is legit. Everybody else thinks, yeah, that this stuff stinks. Do you understand? Everybody else thinks that this stuff stinks. Do you know how bad this stuff stinks? This stuff stinks so bad that not even Domino's Pizza, who have got no interest in sport, not even Domino's Pizza believe that Conor Ben's innocent. Forget what I think. Not even Domino's Pizza. This man can't even convince a man who delivers pizzas that he's innocent. So how has he managed to convince the so-called best promoter in the world that he's innocent? I mean, it's laughable. He believes Conor Ben is innocent. Did he believe Canelo Alvarez was innocent? What has he seen to believe Conor Ben's innocent? But Canelo wasn't innocent. You've heard what he said about Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is always going to be known as a drugs cheat. Here you go. Here's the video. You can see it right here. Is this me being biased or not? What is this? What, you're going to claim I'm biased now? There you go. I'm not being biased. The videos are right there. Eddie Hearn. I'd say Canelo is cheating. The videos are right there. He goes on camera and he's got no problem telling you Canelo Alvarez is a cheat. So what the fuck has he seen to think that Canelo Alvarez was a dope cheat but that Conor Ben's innocent? Because Canelo jumped through far more hoops than Conor Ben has. Canelo fucking provided receipts and did a fucking hair sample. Am I lying or am I not lying? Did Canelo not provide receipts of where he got his meat from and a hair sample? Can he provide that? Has anybody provided the manufacturer of these so-called egg supplements that the WBC say are the reason why his samples were contaminated? Can anybody tell me the manufacturer of these eggs? Who's the manufacturer? Where do these fucking egg whites come from then? Who's the manufacturer? Who is the manufacturer of these egg whites that the WBC believe are the reason why he failed the test? Is somebody going to ask Mauricio Suleiman that? Mauricio Suleiman? Who made the egg whites? Who's making these supplements so that other fighters don't test positive? Mauricio Suleiman? Sorry for shouting. It's because I got my headphones on. That's why. Right, let me go to Richard and George C's comments. George C. This is George C. on the likelihood of contamination. George C says, if each test has, for example, a 1% chance of contamination, then for both to be contaminated, you multiply 0.01 by 0.01 to equal 0.0001. The chance of two unlikely things both happening is always very small. So George C, who makes a living, a very good living, out of effectively being a scientist, yeah, is telling you that according to his calculations, yeah, the chances of both of these fucking samples being contaminated is somewhere in the region of 0.0001. Yeah, Eddie Hearn's going to come on TV, or going to come on with Simon Jordan and tell you that he believes that this guy's innocent. But he can't tell us what evidence he's seen to lead you to believe that. Richard says they split each sample into something like 20 parts and test each one separately as well. So his piss has been tested 80 times if they did the B sample as well. I didn't time you out, Zeppe. You are talking pure shite, but I didn't time you out, brother. I didn't time you out, but we do have mods in here. Good to see that the mods are modding, actually. Boxing Classic says, I like the sound of your keyboard. It sounds like Hackers 1995. Now, let me... Yoking's cracking me up. Now, let me tell you something, yeah? Right? Where this could go. It won't go there, but this is where it could go. Right? This is where it could go. Because I've got some news to tell you, right? I've got some news to tell you, right? This Conor Ben story ain't finished, you know? I know there's people out there that want it to finish, innit? I know there's people out there that want it to finish. I see, sorry. Disclaimer, I work in oil and gas, not biochemistry or pharmaceuticals, but there's a little crossover. My bad, yeah. Okay, my bad. But still, scientific background for sure. Let me tell you this now. That comment, by the way, can absolutely be right. Yeah, I was saying, this ain't over yet. Now, I know there's, again, some people who want this to be over, innit? And we all know who they are, innit? Cha-ching, cha-ching, innit? We all know who wants to stop talking about this. Don't we? Shall I leave you a little gif so that you understand, innit? We know there's a few people, innit, who kind of, you know, who'd wish this story would just go away, innit? They want to talk about Fury and Usyk all day, innit? Do you know what I mean? They want to talk about Fury and Usyk. Oh my God, this stuff's killing boxing. Wow, Fury and Usyk, this is a disgrace. Oh my God, two guys aren't fighting on April the 29th. Wow, this stuff is killing the sport. When you've got a man under investigation for doping being lined up for a fight against someone that's just been knocked out in the middle of Abu Dhabi. Crickets, mate. Crickets. You don't hear a thing, do you? And you know why, innit? Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But I tell you someone who could find themselves in a little bit of trouble, right? I'll tell you someone who could be in a bit of trouble. The truth of the matter is this. The British Boxing Board of Control have a rule, all right? And their rule is that all license holders need to cooperate in the relevant processes when somebody fails a drugs test. I'm trying to find the exact article in the British Boxing Board of Control rules, because they were brought up by Adam Catterall. And Adam Catterall is not the one who originally found that ruling in the British Boxing Board of Control. That ruling was originally found by Chris Rob Will, who's on Twitter. Those of you who know what I'm talking about. But there's a ruling in the BBOC rules, and it states that license holders must cooperate with the relevant authorities when there's been a problem with drug testing. Now, I think the British Boxing Board of Control are going to fold, right? You think the British Boxing Board of Control are going to fold. But let me ask you a question. If they don't fold, right? If they don't fold, and they end up asking, some questions. If they don't fold, and they end up, handing out sanctions to people, sometimes, I've got to be careful what I say, but I do wonder if Eddie Hearn's going to be okay. Listen, if you look at this interview between Simon Jordan and Robert Smith, Robert Smith literally hints at that. He hints at that in this interview. When he's asked specifically about could promoters be involved in any sanctions on the British Boxing Board of Control, he's quite coy about his answer. Do you think that Eddie Hearn, and I want to ask Richard, George and everybody in the chat, what do you think? Do you think that Eddie Hearn, as a license holder, as a British Boxing Board of Control promoter's license holder, do you think he has cooperated fully with the UKAD British Boxing Board of Control investigation? Do you think so? I'd like to know what the British Boxing Board of Control think about that. Just trying to find it. Trying to find the exact ruling. I'll be interested to know, because I believe it might not just be fighters that need to cooperate fully with these investigations. I believe that it's all license holders, which may involve promoters. So that would be very, 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 very interesting. Very, very... Here we go. Here's the ruling. Found it. Look at this. All right? Here's the ruling. All license holders agree to cooperate fully with any World Anti-Doping compliant anti-doping investigations or proceedings, whether conducted by UK Anti-Doping or any other competent body. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I think certain people involved in this case need to be very, very fucking careful, because this does seem like certain people who aren't just fighters, but it does seem like certain people are treading water when it comes to this. All license holders agree to cooperate fully with any World Anti-Doping compliant anti-doping investigations or proceeding. If someone was to ask me my personal opinion on whether Eddie Hearn has fully complied with a World Anti-Doping compliant anti-doping investigation or proceedings, I'm not sure what answer I could give you. I'm not sure what answer I could give you. What do you think? Nico's now talking shit, innit? I can't stand all these little people crying about steroids in boxing. They all do it. Yeah, so that's it, Nico. When someone gets caught, what do we do? What should we do with Conor Ben? Let him go and punch Chris Eubank Jr. in the fucking head then, yeah? In Dubai, yeah? Should we do that then, yeah? Let's do that then. Should we do that? Shall we just go and let somebody who's under investigation for doping go and punch somebody else in the fucking skull? And then what happens if Chris Eubank Jr. has a brain hemorrhage or a brain problem? Are you gonna donate to his GoFundMe? Honestly, like, are you gonna donate to his GoFundMe? Because you'll be the first one on Twitter, innit? You'll be the first one on Twitter going, oh my God, this is a disgrace, mate. Oh, prayers for Chris. You know, you'll be the first one on Twitter, innit? With your hashtag, prayers for Chris. I'm out here, I'm sending prayers for Chris. Boxing's such a dangerous sport, man. Boxing's a dangerous sport, man. Prayers up for Chris. Prayers up for Chris. Hashtag prayer for Chris, mate. What do we do? Hashtag prayers for Chris. I'm getting that in the chat. Prayer for Chris. Send him in. Don't matter. They all do it, innit? Fuck it. Let's just... We might as well send you back to the firing squad and all, innit? We might as well send you back to the firing squad. Fuck it. What's the point, innit? Do you know what I mean? Somebody's under investigation for doping. Fuck it. Let him box anyway. Oh my fucking God, man. This is it. This is what you get in it. It's anything, in it. It's anything to try and murky the waters, isn't it? But see when it's Usyk and Fury. Oh my God, it's a disgrace, mate. Usyk and Fury, that's it. Have you heard it this week? Fury needs to retire. Have you heard this crap? Fury needs to retire from boxing because he ain't fighting Usyk on the 29th. He needs to retire. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. You got people that are under investigation for fucking doping. Yeah, it don't matter. Let him fight anyway. It don't matter. He's only punching someone else in the head. What if the other guy gets hurt or dies? What if... Let me ask you a question. This is how stupid this is, right? I'm surprised Eddie Hearn would even open himself up to this, right? But what if... And there's very, very little chance it's happening, right? But if this fight took place on June the 3rd, right? And let me tell you, right? This fight might not happen on June the 3rd, but anybody even thinking about making this fight needs their fucking promoter's license taken away. I don't care what anybody says. Anybody even thinking about making this fight needs their promoter's license taken. But let's leave it at this and then we'll call it a day. If this fight goes ahead on June the 3rd, right? And Chris Eubank Jr. suffers a brain injury, right? So let's just say this fight goes ahead on June the 3rd and Chris Eubank Jr. suffers a brain injury. A subsequent British Boxing Board of Control UKAD investigation then finds Conor Ben guilty of wrongdoing in regards to adverse findings. How would Matchroom ever be able to promote another show ever again in the history of fucking UK boxing? Can somebody please tell me the answer for that? Is that a fair point I'm making? Press 1 even that's a fair point, press 2 even that's not a fair point. We're looking to put on fights involving people who are under investigation for doping. So if something happens to Chris Eubank Jr. in the ring on June the 3rd, and then a subsequent investigation then finds Conor Ben guilty of some wrongdoing, what happens then? What happens then? What would the legal consequences of that be? To quote Eddie Hearn, would we call that murder? I'm only going to judge him by his own fucking words. And I'll leave you with this. Words by the man himself. I don't know if it's the promoters. I don't know if it's the commission. I don't know if it's the governing bodies. But someone has got to do something to at least make sure that the title fights are being tested. I'm not making any allegations, but I'm asking the question, okay? Has Conor Ben had a VADA test since August time? Because he's been training, by the way. Do you guys not find that funny? Like, Conor Ben's been training. We've all seen him in the gym, right? Am I lying? Am I not lying? Is he not in the gym training? Okay. Is he being tested by VADA? He's only just made it back into the WBC rankings. Is he being tested by VADA? He's been training for weeks in that gym. Who's testing him? Is VADA testing him again? He's been in that gym for weeks, isn't he? Been in that gym for weeks training, isn't it? Has anybody been testing him or what? I'm just asking the question. I'm not making any accusation. I'm asking the question. To finish off with Eddie Hearn's quote. Oh, is he, Nico? Who's tested him? Nico, I'm interested to know. Who's tested him? Is VADA still testing him? When was the last time he was tested by VADA? When was the last time he was tested by VADA, who was the one who found the first two adverse findings? When was the last time he was tested by... They've tested him. He's been in the gym for weeks, yeah? And he's been subject to a VADA test, is he? Okay. Let me know when, Nico. Let me know when. So who tested him, Nico, then? Who tested him? Let me know who tested him. And let me finish off Eddie Hearn's quote. Something is going to happen. Someone is going to die. Someone is going to get hurt for life. Someone is going to get paralyzed by a drugs cheat. What happens then is that murder. How can we know that we're not dealing with a drugs cheat until the British Boxing Board of Control and UK have at least finished their investigation? How do we know? To be honest, I don't think we know anyway, regardless. But how do we know that we're not dealing with a drugs cheat until the British Boxing Board of Control and UK have failed their investigation? We don't know, right? Do we? We don't know. Right. That's exactly why no fight should be happening until the investigation's been complete. No promoter should be trying to put this guy on any fucking card until, right, all investigations and all legal proceedings are complete. Not just the WBC. The WBC do not have the power to decide, yeah, if he boxes again in this country or not. The WBC are not the United Kingdom anti-doping agency. The WBC aren't even an anti-doping agency. The WBC are a sanctioning body. I don't care if Conor Ben's in the rankings. I don't care if he's in the WBC top 15. That's got nothing to do with me. What I care about is the findings of the governing body of the sport in this country. And as far as I'm concerned, there is an ongoing investigation. Therefore, I would say that this...
On the night. Secondly, I could have done this fight in many different places around the world. You can't do it. You know, you've seen the feedback. You've seen the response. He has to clear his name or he has to have his case heard. So what we are not going to do and what we won't accept anyway is just to go and get another license and put this fight on in December. No. Let's have the process, go through the legal process of Conor Ben, and then we see what the result is.
So I would say that what he's just said there is immoral at best. Well, actually, no, what he said there is correct, but I'm saying what he's doing now in light of that, if he's working to put this fight on, I would say he's contradicted that statement, because as far as I'm concerned, right, as far as I'm concerned, the process is still ongoing, right? And that's how I want to finish. The process is still ongoing. To me, when a UK fighter has an adverse finding in a drugs test and the British Boxing Board of Control decide that they want to investigate, then the process is that the British Boxing Board of Control and UK investigation has to be completed. To me, that's the process. The process isn't, all right, wait for a fucking sanctioning body, aka the WBC, to come up with some bullshit about eggs, which fucking Conor Ben himself doesn't agree with, and then put the fight on in Saudi Arabia. Take care of yourselves and each other.